Today we have a great young team out here from Toronto to take this session. There are 5 of them, and this is the youngest team we ever had on a panel out here. So welcome them.
Yeah.
To take us through the session, we have Jonathan, we have Fran, Teresa, Todd, and Carlo. We're waiting for Carlo. Since he's speaking at last, we're beginning our session anyway. We have taken up the topic of lean startup as an introduction in our earlier sessions, but we will have the full session today. And to take us there, we will first have a team of Jonathan and Fran to introduce the lean startup. Jonathan is an experienced marketing and business development professional with specialty in technology startups. Currently, he works in the media industry, helping drive growth and engagement via cross-media strategy with Jump Wire Media. And he quenches his entrepreneurial thirst as a workshop coordinator for Lean Startup Machine. We have joining Jonathan Fran. Fran is currently Executive Director of a co-organizer of Lean Startup Machine workshops in Toronto and Montreal, and has most recently started working the Socialite conference. Her interests include social enterprise and community development. She is an avid cyclist, and she has been to Burning Man. Incidentally, the first video that we showed here was of Burning Man.
Yes!
Very topical.
Fran also sits on the board of directors for Hike Ontario and continues to be involved in a number of community projects. Without any further ado, please help me welcome Jonathan and Fran.
Thanks again, guys, everyone, for being here. It's really great. We really appreciate this. This is an awesome opportunity, and I know for everyone who's here and working with us, it was actually really exciting to get to connect with Todd, Teresa, Carlos, Fran, and I, because we do the Lean Startup Workshop on a fairly regular basis, about 2-3 times a year, which you'll understand is a fairly regular basis. We have a lot of fun doing it, so it's always great when we can get the team back together, get the band back together for one last hit. So it's a ton of fun. So with that being said, I want you guys to kind of meet the cast. Lilith did a great job introducing myself and Fran. One thing I want to add about Fran that she just recently started, she's working with another kind of leaner, a lean startupper, Carolyn Van, on a new venture called Venus Ventures. And it's focused around helping female entrepreneurs get a little bit more light and get a little more exposure, and helping them push their ideas forward. Teresa, you'll hear more about it, and Lee will do a great job introducing everyone as well. But Teresa has worked on 3 different little ventures. One's 11 Productions, which is a media company. Let me get my notes. I have to remember all these things. So Love in Action, and then one of my favorite ones, and where I actually got to connect with Teresa most, was Socialite, which is a conference dedicated to social entrepreneurship. The true bottom line, we will hear lots about it, right, Teresa?
Right.
Yes. Todd is an amazing individual. He has over 10 years of theater and improv experience, so expect there to be a show tonight. But there will be learning involved with it as well. So it's a ton of fun. I actually met him at Follow Your Fear Day, so we started this new event where you actually take your fears and follow it. It was an amazing event, and he actually did a one-man improv show for 50 minutes. It was unbelievable. I didn't think it was actually possible, but he did it. He's an agile coach, and he takes a different spin in the way that he approaches and works with organizations, and it's by adding that little bit of fun into the way in which you work, which will actually help you push and get the most out of what you're doing. And Carlos, bringing up the rear, he will be here, I assure you. He has, his organization is called Hamarati. He's been doing that for about 3 years, and it's helping contractors find work. And he also, in his spare time, he also is a lecturer on technology and management at Humber College. So that's a little bit of an overview in terms of what we do. You guys obviously dive deeper in terms of what we're all about, but for the time being, I'm going to let Fran take over and talk a little bit about who is Lean Startup Machine.
Well, Lean Startup Machine is not a person, so I'll tell you about what is Lean Startup Machine. Lean Startup Machine is it's a 3-day intensive workshop series that happens generally from Friday to Sunday. Top people come, they pitch their ideas. The top ideas get selected, and it's not based on who. It's just on how you pitch the idea and if people are receptive to it. Then the team develops a problem hypothesis, a solution hypothesis, and a series of assumptions. So I started out as a participant, so I'll give you a little quick example about it. So I'm an avid cyclist. I don't have access to a car, and a big pain point for me was not having intercity transportation that was quick enough and cost effective enough. Taxis are very expensive if you're going to IKEA, but it takes an hour and a half to get to IKEA if you live downtown. So my pitch was an intercity car share program. And my problem hypothesis was intercity transport is inefficient, taxi expensive, bus is slow. Solution, intercity online carpooling system. So then from there you pick your riskiest assumption, and my team's riskiest assumption was friendly people with cars will mind giving rides, and people without cars want rides. From there we created our MVP, and the MVP is our minimum viable product, which makes you get out of the building and you speak with real customers, you collect currency, cash and non-cash. So basically we had to iterate a couple times, we pivoted, and there we validated or invalidated some of our assumptions. So some of those assumptions were that, yeah, people with cars totally want to pick up strangers. That was obviously false, and we validated that. And then we went on to validate that, people that had used shared services like couchsurfing, like rideshare, like Airbnb are much more open and receptive to using something like this. So that's how you go through validating that. And how we did that was calling our friends, literally leaving the building and finding out how people responded to it. So the whole process, the lean startup process, which John will get a little bit more in depth with, promotes finding a need for your product or service before building it. And that's what the lean startup principle is all about. Some of these other workshops are more about, okay, let's build the product and see if there's a need for it. Well, we want to find that customer pain point before we build it. And that's, it's teaching us to use the least amount of resources before you build a product that nobody potentially wants. We often think, I'm going to build the greatest product ever, my idea is so amazing. And then as you go talking to people and validating or invalidating, you're like, wow, I started here and I'm totally over there. So one thing that Lean Startup asks people is, don't come with an idea that you're already working on, because you're probably going to realize that you're going to get to a point that is totally far away from there, and you're either going to be really, really frustrated with it, or just be so married to your idea that you won't actually learn from the process. So we ask people to come, pitch a fresh idea, and then take the lessons that you learned and bring them back to whatever you're currently working on, or continue to work on that idea with your team if that's something that you think is appropriate and you've created an awesome team. So finding the customer pain point is the most important thing. What's really great about Lean Startup Machine, it's a community of people that want to help you. It's really volunteer driven. The co-organizers, the mentors, everyone that's kind of there is there because they want to help and share their knowledge. So we get top entrepreneurs from the city to come and share their knowledge and teach you about their experiences and give you feedback as you're going. You're like, oh my god, my idea, it's literally like a roller coaster of emotions you're going through. You're like, my idea's awesome, my idea sucks. Oh my god, I hate my team, I love my team. Like there's moments when people are like, we need a 5-minute happy break, because it's like intense. Like you're there Friday, 6 to 11 o'clock, or yeah, 6 p.m. to 11 o'clock, Saturday 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. and Sunday 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's a really, really intense weekend, but you learn so much and you build incredible relationships with the mentors, with the people that are the co-attendees, and you learn a lot. And there's also great speakers that we've had at a lot of our workshops. The event finishes with team pitches, and the winner isn't the one who has the best idea. Instead, it's the team which applies the process, the iterating and the pivoting through what they originally came up with and where they are now. So, yeah. So to date, we've run 50 workshops in 35 cities across 5 continents. I'm involved with the Toronto and the Montreal workshops, and as well as Jonathan. And yeah, we have the privilege to constantly meet new people, meet new entrepreneurs, and people aspiring to make change. And I think that's it.
So,
Oh, Jonathan was supposed to be my slide person.
it's okay.
This is just a little promo video to give you an idea of what the weekend is about.
Anybody that's going to come into this has to do this startup camp. It's amazing.
I got my money's worth by Thursday night after the first couple hours.
This is a high-pressure environment. You think about it, you go, you talk, the mentors are literally pushing you out of the building.
You go through a lot. There's like a whole range of emotions that you kind of go through.
To come into this thing and create a company in 72 hours, go out on the street getting customers, getting people saying yes, seeing people that raised almost $3,000 in sales without a product even being built, that is worth the conference.
So that kind of sums up what I was telling you guys about. But that music, that intensity, that's exactly what it is, and it's an awesome experience. So John's going to tell you a little bit more about the Lean Startup principles, and then we'll carry on. So thank you.
Okay, so Lean Startup defined. So I don't know, how many people have heard about Lean Startup before already? Okay, so we have a feeling around it. So what I want to spend a little bit of time doing is I just want to be talking about the basis of it. So what it came from lean manufacturing. So lean manufacturing was this concept in Japan where the focus was anything that you were doing in terms of building a product had to show value to the end consumer. If it did not show value, get rid of it, toss it. Okay, that basic assumption and that basic idea is what we built Lean Startup Machine on. Lean Startup on, and Lean Startup methodology. So taking that same idea, there's a couple of the two big principles that are around that, and it's the idea of Kanban. So it's building inventory and storing it sequentially throughout the process rather than building it up and storing it. So again, you're constantly building and having this finished product and adding to those finished products. So it's not building the product one time and pushing it out, but it's continuous deployment of the actual product. And the other big piece too is in constantly ensuring quality and constantly checking your quality. So as you can see, that stuff is what we do, is we create a science behind entrepreneurship. The whole concept behind Lean Startup is not to build that product, spend 2 years in stealth mode, never tell anyone about it, and always say, oh, so what are you building? I can't tell you. I can't tell you. Sorry, I can't. No. Someone's going to take it. No, can't. It's getting rid of that whole concept. It's constantly pushing out different iterations, testing it, understanding the way in which people react to it, customer feedback, and building and growing off that customer feedback. And again, some of the big names that we like to talk about behind the movement. Eric Ries is a name that gets thrown out quite a bit. He's the author of the Lean Startup book. He's one of the big names behind it. But again, he had inspiration behind him. So some of the other people you want to be looking at, maybe Steve Blank. Steve Blank, 4 Steps to Epiphany, is an outstanding book, a little bit lengthy of a read. But again, additionally, customer development is a big piece to Lean Startup. So again, we'll be talking a little bit more about that and touching upon that as we move through. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. So why Lean Startup? Why would you disregard all your previous thoughts and the way in which you think you should be building a business, and why jump on the Lean Startup movement and the Lean Startup methodology? One of the biggest things about Lean Startup is eliminating uncertainty. One of the big problems is that we go in with these ideas and we try and pitch and we try and attack these ideas, and we never really know what we're trying to tackle. The biggest thing, and as I show you when we walk through the canvas, one of the biggest things that we have around it is identifying your most, by finding that one thing that you're most uncertain of, and by testing it. And understanding what it is that is the make or break assumption of what you're doing. The other big piece is working smarter and not harder. Listen, we all are a little bit lazy inside. The whole idea of entrepreneurship is awesome in theory, but when you actually sit down and start doing it, it sucks. Like, it's a lot of work. And again, nothing happens overnight, and you completely understand that. But the thing is that why not cut out some of the time that you're doing, running around in circles, not focus on what you're trying to do, and cut that out and work smarter. It's something that we've always learned and we've always pushed to. That's the whole concept. What Lean Startup does, it helps give you a trail. By testing it and understanding what those riskiest assumptions are, it gives you what you want to be testing first, and based off that, measuring and moving forward and getting that idea in terms of what the next thing is going to be doing. So it's almost like you have a guide and creating this perfect chaos and creating a method to the madness, if you will. And one of the biggest things with lean startup is the validation of learning. So to go back to the manufacturing, the best part, the one thing that you want and the measure of success for manufacturing is you're looking at actually having a high quality product. The measure of success for lean startup, strangely enough, is being able to validate your learning. So being able to do something, try it, test it, and actually know what the next steps are going to be, and understanding fully what the effects of what you did and what you should be doing moving forward. So that's one of the biggest things that you want to be focusing on is what are you learning from each step of the process, and how is that going to change the insight in terms of moving forward, in terms of taking your next step. And lastly, if you're going to fail, fail fast. Again, as I said, entrepreneurship is not easy. It's oftentimes not fun. It's a lot of work. So the best thing to do is if you have an idea and you're unsure in terms of if it's going to be working, or you have a problem that you're trying to solve, the best thing to do is test it, see if it's worked, see if there's actually a customer base behind it, and people who are willing to pay for it or willing to actually buy into your idea. So that being said, I want to touch on some of the big ideas behind lean startup. So going back to the whole concept of failure, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but people will fail. But the thing is with lean startup is it's not necessarily a failure. It's a process in terms of learning. And as we said, it's that validation learning which is the biggest thing. So the majority of startups fail not because of poor planning, but because no one wants your product or service. Ideas are great. People have tons of ideas. There are so many ideas. I used to do a bunch of this lecturing, and I used to come up with ideas on the spot. And people would jot these things down. And I said, take the ideas, run with the ideas. But you know what? You haven't put any thought behind these ideas if they're actually worthwhile in terms of doing. Identify problems and find solutions. That's the biggest thing. Unless someone feels the same pain that you're feeling, no one's really going to care. Flat out. So it's identifying and understanding what the pain point is, what the customer is frustrated with, and building a solution around that. The second big idea is it's the number of cycles you go through in the build, measure, and lean, not the time spent doing it. Again, going back to that learning principle. With the build, measure, lean, and again, we'll touch a little bit upon it in a couple slides later, and you'll get a full understanding in how that works. But it's understanding in terms of each time that you go through, each time you build a product, you build something that tests. You measure it, understand what the success is, understand the way people react to it, what the feedback is based off that, and you learn and you adjust based off that. As you will see, it is a cycle. There's a reason why it is called a cycle. Because that helps drive the innovation forward, and it helps give you the push of what you want to be doing in order to take those next steps. One quote that I absolutely love, it's by Henry Ford, and it was if I asked anyone what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So it's exactly the concept that no one really thought of the idea of an automobile until they brought an automobile to market. They just want something that will go faster and be more efficient. What you're doing is you're building a product of tomorrow, today. Unfortunately, we don't have the foresight knowing exactly how everything's going to go. So with that being said, is we can use some of the insights of testing, understanding feedback in order to help push that innovation forward. So three of the key principles I want to cover just in my time talking, and again, diving deeper into that will be Todd and Teresa, and as well as Carlos, is I want to talk about the concept of documenting your plan and getting that idea and that concept on paper. And then understanding what your riskiest assumption is and being able to test your plan. So I don't want to spend too much time on business models and the canvas, because I know next week you guys are going to be focusing a lot on it, and you're going to have a big chunk of time to do that. But again, business models come in a variety of forms, shapes, and canvases are the same way too. This is an example of one. You can go on to leancanvas.com and actually set up an account, and you can have a web version of your canvas. The one that we use at Lean Startup and at the weekends workshop, I wanted to walk you through it very quickly, because again, what we focus on is in 72 hours, we can't actually really truly build a business. But what we can do is we can help you walk out with a business idea and with a problem and a solution behind that problem. So just taking a look, the way what we do is we do it based off of pivots. So 72 hours, yes, is not a lot of time, but in the same breath, it's a great way to go through and actually test and understand the ideas. So the first thing that we want for you is the customer hypothesis. Customer hypothesis. So what is it that the customer is going to want? Based off that, we understand what the problem is. What problem are they actually suffering from? What problem are we looking to, what problem do we think is glaring and that we want to be solved? And then based off that, we create a solution hypothesis. So what is it that exactly that's going to be the cure to this problem? What's going to make this thing all better? What's going to make people stop complaining and worrying about the problem that you're trying to solve? Based off that, we create based off that, we create experiments. And creating the experiments, the whole purpose is actually testing the solution. So understanding if, okay, we have the problem, we have the solution that we're proposing. And the whole idea and concept behind that is what experiments can we do to actually test it and understand. So based off that, we create assumptions, never going there again. Based off that, we create core assumptions. And from that, we boil it down to what is our riskiest assumption. So going back to that whole concept is what is the thing that is the make or break of what it is that we're going to be doing. And with that, what we do is we create an MVP, so a minimal viable product. What can we do to test that assumption in order to eliminate it as a risky assumption? And we can kind of take it back so it's something that we can overcome, or it's something that we, so based off success or failure, invalidation or validation, we can understand what should we be doing moving forward and how do we pivot or how do we persevere forward. And then with that in mind, we always have to set out that minimum success criteria. So what amount of responses? So for example, is this a landing page? Do we want to know how many people are going to click on the button on a landing page for buy now or for order now? Is it going out and actually talking to people and asking them, are you willing to pay $10 for a service? Is it 10 out of 20 people? Is it 50%? Is it 3 out of 10 people? And again, based off that understanding of your market, you'll have that minimum success criteria. Based off that, we validate or invalidate the assumption. So what that means is, by invalidating, we understand, okay, we can't continue moving forward on this path. How do we pivot and how do we realign our goals and our vision in order to continue to, based off of the feedback that we got? If we had a validation, awesome. We can kind of keep moving, we can persevere forward. So what's your riskiest assumption? There's 3 stages that every startup goes through, and I want to touch upon that. So the first stage that you go through is the problem solution fit. So we look at 3 things with the problem solution fit. What you're trying to do is we're trying to understand is, based off the problem, based off the customer problem that we've identified, what is the solution? So there's a couple of things that you want to be looking at. The first one is the product or solution or product or service that you're building actually a must-have? Is it something that someone would literally scream and bang down your door if you stop serving that, if you stop doing production on it or you stop having it on the market? Is it something that's absolutely essential to the way that they live or helping solve that problem? Will they pay for it? Again, at the end of the day, there has to be some sort of money in order to keep these things, keep a roof over our head and keep these things running. And if they're not going to pay for the money, who will? Is it something that maybe an advertiser will be paying for and help supplement some of the costs? How is you going to convert in terms of a paying customer? And the last question is, can it be solved? Is it actually feasible to be solved? So by answering those 3 questions, what you're doing is you're actually creating a minimal viable product. And you're testing it and you're understanding in terms of how that works. The second stage is the problem market fit. So it's now taking that actual problem and taking it on a more of a macro scale and applying it to market. So based off that is, have you built something that people want? Is it something that actually people will be paying for on a grander scale? And based off that customer feedback, it'll help you to kind of understand in terms of what it is you should be doing and how you want to be marketing it. And again, Todd will be covering a lot in terms of the measuring and the metrics behind the products that you push out. And the third one, which is actually very interesting, that a lot of people want to jump to, is scale. Everyone wants scalability. And this is the most interesting part actually, because for investors and for entrepreneurs, for the first time, your motives are now lined up, because an investor is looking for traction, and an investor is looking for scalability. And again, at this point, this is when you're actually trying to grow. And with the 2 steps before, for the problem solution and the problem market fit, what you're actually realizing is that you're accruing customers, you're accruing testing, you're learning, you're understanding how this works in different markets. So going back to that build, measure, lean, this is the process and the cycle which it takes in order for you to actually test your plan. So as I was saying, ideas, dime a dozen, they're wonderful. I love them. They're so great to go to sleep with at night, all cuddled up and cozy with them. But that being said, is you want to actually take something that you can build off and you can test. So with every idea, you have to create a way in which you can test it. And the only way you can do it is actually building something around it. So again, going back, is it a landing page? Is it a survey? Is it a menu? What is it that's going to actually be able to test and understand? From building it, you're going to create a product. That product you're then able to put out in the market. You're able to get feedback. You're able to test it, sample it, have people provide insight on it. And with that, what you're doing is you're measuring. From the measuring, you're pulling the data. The data allows you to, again, based on that minimum success criteria, you get to understand what works, what doesn't work, and is it something that you want to move forward with. That's where the learning comes in. Now, again, that learning, we understand what do we want to persevere forward with, and what do we want to change? How do we want to pivot? And that's when we're going back into that full cycle of what are the ideas that are generating around it. So as you can see, it's full circle. It's constantly driving, one step is driving the next step. And that's one of the biggest things, and that's the way that you have to look at the lean startup. And one of the biggest things that I want you to understand is how do you measure progress? Measuring progress, and again, Todd will be diving so much deeper into this, but I want you to understand the ultimate point is you want to have that perfect mix of speed, learning, and focus. So it's not putting preference onto two, but allowing all three of them working in a perfect synergy and pushing forward. So, I know we have a little bit, I don't know, we might have a little bit of time. No, I think I'm just on time. But these slides will be available online, but in terms of like the next steps, what is it you want to be doing? So what's your big idea? I know everybody here has something they want to be driving towards, something they want to be pushed forward to. So what is it? Based off that, what are your top 3 assumptions? So who cares? Is it a must-have? Who pays? Is it viable? And how will you reach your customers? And then pick one assumption. Pick that one riskiest assumption, and based off that, how are you going to validate it, and what data is it that you want to pull in terms of need, and what's the MVP you're going to use in order to validate it. So that being said, we are doing a Lean Startup Machine October 19th to 21st. Everyone who's at this session, there is a promo code there that if you guys want to sign up, it's TIE20. Don't worry about the uppercase or lowercase. It doesn't matter. But you can sign up there, and you have to sign up by Friday, October 10th, so that's tomorrow by 11:30 p.m. if you're interested. We'd love to see you guys there. And
if you want the promo code, you have to sign up by that time.
Yes, if you want the promo code, thank you, Ray. If you want the promo code, you have to sign up by that time. And then again, just to wrap it up, you guys have access to these slides. So here's just a brief couple bunch of resources that you guys can use in terms of if you want to dig a little bit deeper into more general, but I know everyone else following me has a ton more, and these guys are great resources. Anyways, thank you so much. I look forward to chatting with everyone later.